she has something she wants to share.
Something she says gives a unique insight into the hearts and minds of our troops in Iraq. And as King 5's Gary Chittum reports, something that gives her hope.
These were the darkest days of Shelley Starr's quiet life in Snohomish. Spring 2005, the salutes and ceremonies followed the death of her son Jeffrey in Anbar Province, Iraq. The letter that Marine Corporal Jeffrey Starr wrote before his death was so moving, the president chose to quote it in one of his speeches.
I'm here helping these people so they can live the way we live. Not to have to worry about tyrants or vicious dictators.
My name is Shelley Starr. I'm 55.
I'm Brian Starr. I'm 56 years old.
Emmeline Anonical. EMMYLYN
I had the privilege of being his mother.
I'm his father.
I was his girlfriend. Dearest Emmeline, I'm writing this for one reason only. On April 13th, 2004, I thought I was going to die. My only regret is that I hadn't spent enough time with you, that I hadn't told you everything I wanted to. Being in Iraq for a third time, I don't want to feel that way again because it was the worst feeling ever. So this letter is in case I won't ever get the chance to tell you.
The Marines returned Jeffrey's car to us, and in his car was his computer.
I turned on the computer, and there it was. It was a notepad saved letter. It was titled LetterHome. So I clicked on it, and I read it. I'd like to kind of draw this correlation between this life-threatening event that happened on April 13th in 2004 and maybe his motivations for writing this letter. It's called Voices of the Fallen. Any day I'm here could be the day I die. The war in Iraq, the words of Americans dead. They select an email from Jeff, April 17th, Fallujah. After moving west a few more streets, we turned on around and started heading south. By that time, we were shooting at everyone we saw, weapon or not. Next thing I know, I am on the floor of the track looking up at a ball of fire. I was covered in blood and parts of our lieutenant's leg on my face and flak. I don't know exactly what time it was, but late afternoon is when we dismounted the burning track. As we exited out the hatch of the track, we were taking fire from the north, the east, and the west. The rest of us continued to fire at the enemy, who was down every road and in every window like cockroaches. We ran into the house to clear it, and 3 of us immediately went to the roof to keep the enemy from coming any closer. I noticed the sun was closer to setting when RPGs and rockets started hitting the rooftop. We had to fall back inside and downstairs. All of us were in the hallway. There we waited. It's hard to say how much time went by before we started hearing them all around us. At first we hoped it was friendly, but it was definitely Iraqi. Starr was killed by a sniper on May 30th, 2005, while on patrol in Ramadi, Walking Point. He was 22. He was 22 years old. 5 days after his birthday. 2 days before he was set to go offline, and 3 weeks before he would have returned to Camp Pendleton on his 3rd tour. He was a seasoned combat veteran.
Obviously, if you are reading this, then I have died in Iraq. I kind of predicted this. That is why I'm writing this in November. A 3rd time just seemed like I'm pushing my chances. I don't regret going. Everybody dies, but few get to do it for something as important as freedom. It may seem confusing why we are in Iraq. It's not to me. I'm here helping these people so that they can live the way we live. Not to have to worry about tyrants or vicious dictators, to do what they want with their lives. To me, that is why I died. Others have died for my freedom. Now this is my mark.
My brother is a Vietnam vet. Was just so proud of Jeffrey that when he read that letter, he felt it needed more publicity or something. And so my brother started to talk about it. Brian really wanted people to read it, and so Brian contacted the Herald.
The second paragraph was the paragraph that has been publicized, and that's the paragraph that includes everybody dies, but few get to do it for something as important as freedom.
Were you surprised by Jeff's words?
Yes and no. Jeff had a talent for writing.
Yeah, because he had this grumpy attitude when he was home and was having to return and stuff, we didn't talk about work. We didn't talk about his job. He wanted to be present with us and with his friends. He didn't want to talk about the war. And so I really didn't know if he'd looked at death himself. So it did give me comfort to know that he had looked at it.
I don't want to leave you behind. I saw myself marrying you, having a family and growing old together. Unfortunately, I won't get to experience those things. I know you're crying, and sorry to say, but I'm glad to have someone as beautiful and special as you to cry for me. I'm only asking that you don't cry for very long. This is what has happened, and there's nothing that can be done.
And the New York Times had done an article on the 2000 death in Iraq. And it had included in that article a portion of Jeff's letter, but quoted it out of context in the sense that it really didn't portray Jeff the way we believe the letter was written. The New York Times sent a photographer out. Jeff seemed to be an important part of the story. My picture was in the paper looking at the gravesite, and then the short piece about Jeff. And my brother-in-law was somewhat outraged by what the New York Times had said or had not said, and contacted Michelle Malkin. And then she wrote a piece that hit the internet hard and wide. So having that out in public created a lot of awareness of what Jeff said, and I got a call from an individual who was a researcher at the Office of Speechwriting, I think they call it, and had asked permission to use it in a speech, and we said sure. He made a series of, I think, 5 speeches, and the first one was to the Naval Academy, November 30th, which just happened to be 6 months after Jeff's death.
Don't ever forget me, and remember that there are good men out there who will love you as much as I do. Find the one that makes you happy. You deserve that. I'm sorry that I won't be able to see you again. I'm sorry I won't be able to see you graduate college. I'm sorry I won't get to kiss you or hold you again. I'm sorry I won't get to feel your touch or your hand in mine again. I'm sorry because those were the best moments in all my life. I really love you. Not the puppy love or the college love. Not the love you say because you feel it's time in the relationship to say it. I really, really loved you. Everything about you. Well, I can't type forever. I know you want to read more. I thought simple and to the point would be easier. I love you with all my heart. Goodbye, my love.
We patrol, but the streets are quiet and the people friendly. The Iraqi military no longer needs to patrol the streets, and the Iraqi police, by and large, seem to have the city under control.
Since her son's death in Iraq in 2005, Sherry Starr has depended on honest assessments of the situation there from Jeff's buddies. She says today's mail was something she felt compelled to share. In Snohomish, Gary Chittum, King 5 News.
Shelley Starr says no matter how you feel about the war, it's encouraging to hear optimistic words from those who are fighting it.